So what can you tell us about your time at ESU?
Well, I can tell you about how to get here. I grew up in Kansas City, came out of Wyandotte High School, and was offered an opportunity to come to Kansas State Teachers College in 1971. Now, I'd never been to Emporia, Kansas, period. So I first had to find out where Emporia was when I was first looking at colleges to attend, and we made a trip to Emporia. And at that time, there was no four-lane interstate highway. The four-lane actually ended coming out of Kansas City in Overland Park at Ottawa, Kansas. From that point on, you jumped on US 50 highway, which was a two-lane highway primarily used by tractor trailers and big trucks. So the second part of the journey was perilous. I mean, like many others, when you'd come back to Emporia on a late Sunday night, coming back to the dorm, Twin Towers at the time, you'd have to manipulate your way down that two-lane highway for 50 miles and hope that you made it from Ottawa to Emporia, Kansas. You know, it was just an amazing journey to have to take. There were no shoulders on the road. If you had a flat tire, you just pulled over in the grass. There was no room for error. No room for error with them trucks coming by you at the opposite way at 60 miles an hour. So when you finally got here to Emporia, you were so happy to be here. Now for me, and that's part of this story as well, at that time you had A, B, C, and D parking permits. For us kids who didn't have a lot of financial means and had a car, we had to use some know-it-all to try to get a parking permit. So I finally got one for $40. That's what it cost for D parking, which is down at the practice fields. So every Sunday night, you coming in late, if you went back home to Kansas City, you had to park at the practice fields, carry all your junk that you had that you brought from home, and you'd have to walk all the way back up that hill to the front doors of Twin Towers in order for you to have a place to park. And like I said, D parking at that time was a whopping $40 a semester, but that's all that this freshman could afford at the time. So not only was the journey from Kansas City back here on the highways a feat in itself, but to get here, then you had to walk a half a mile back up to the dorm after you parked down near the practice fields. So there were some a lot of different things, but that's what I remember primarily about my freshman year, the fact that having to manipulate the two-lane highway, 50 highway, and then to get here to park at the practice fields and have to walk a half mile back up to Twin Towers. So that's my story, and I stand by it.
Okay. Anything else that you can remember? Fun memories?
Tons of fond memories. I lived in the dorm for 2 years, and the dorm was my first experience at living on a floor full of men. Some were mature and some were not. And you'd always try to help those understand that we're not so mature that they needed to settle down here. You're not going to be here long. And I'll have to leave it at that. But we had a number of things that took place on the 6th floor of the dorm, of which after some point in time, after 2 years of living there, I decided, hey, look, I can't take this anymore. It's just hard to study, hard to get anything done. So I left the dorm after 2 years, my sophomore year. And I lived in an animal house. It was a house, 2-story house, with nothing but football players. And I sincerely call it an animal house at 1216 Highland. That home is no more. It's been torn down some number of years ago. But there was a number of good football friends, and I lived in that house together for my junior year, and I couldn't stand that either. So housing was always something that you had to work on here, to try to find roommates who you could trust and roommates that could clean up behind themselves. I look fondly upon those days in the dorm, but I was glad when I got out of there. And in my senior year, then I finally found two fellows that we lived together as roommates on 1024 Constitution, and they were responsible people. So it took me 4 years to find that match, but I did. So I look back at all those experiences as good memories, very good memories.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.